Pokemon since its release back in 1998 has always lived to the motto, gotta catch 'em all. The series has leaned heavily on the collection aspect of its games to the point that it's a point of pride to have completed the entire national dex. So the real question is, what if I don't feel like catching any of them? How am I going to be able to get anything beyond just my starter? That's the question I want to find out. This run has 3 very simple rules. I cannot use Pokeballs to catch any Pokemon. All Pokeballs should be sold immediately. I can't trade Pokemon using multiplayer functions. The game does have some in-game trades I can procure Pokemon if needed, but I still have to get them through legitimate means. The run ends when I beat the Elite Four. Let's dive into the first game of the series, or the remake, because it's pretty graphics, and get started. We start off making our trainer. I decide to go for a female trainer called Snip because, as per the rules, we aren't allowed any balls. So as a reminder of how easily other trainers have it, we'll name our rival only naturally as Ballman, or Ball Guy. I keep getting those two mixed up. You get the point. We wake up in a room and head outside so we can get our first Pokemon. The first thing we need to do is decide what that Pokemon will be. It's important that we choose the best choice, as our starter will be the only Pokemon that we'll have for the early game. Looking at our options, it seems like there are 2 starters that are great. Charmander and Bulbasaur. Bulbasaur would give us a great early game advantage, as Bulbasaur has a type advantage against most of the early game gyms. Charmander would be better as a late game choice, as Charizard can learn Fly. If we took Bulbasaur, we aren't locking ourselves out of using Fly later, but for the sake of efficiency, we will take Charmander. I named my Charmander Freebie as a reminder that this Pokemon could only happen through the kindness of charity. We are challenged by Ballman to our first battle, so I beat him and get on with Professor Oak's little shopping trip. I take a minute to bob to Route 1 and head over to Viridian City, taking on every wild Pokemon I can, as it's important to grind XP fast. I get the package, head home, and get the Pokédex from Professor Oak. We then begin our way to Vermilion City and take on Brock. We get to the city and face against Brock, which goes well. I said it goes well. Metal Claw really helps against rock types, but rock type moves just in general hit too hard at the moment. There isn't really anything we can do other than grind some more XP and get lucky, but luck isn't a thing for me in these games. Instead, we grind until Freebie evolves into Charmeleon. My main hope is that the stat boost the evolution provides will be enough to tank the damage, which it does, and I get my first badge. On Route 3, I make sure to challenge every trainer possible to have Freebie ready for providing support. We make our way to the Poke Center next to Mount Moon and meet a man with an interesting deal. $5,000 for a Magikarp. It turns out dollars is the actual currency in Pokemon. So spending the money, we get ourselves our only ever friend for some time and call her Money Issue. Since I clearly have bad spending habits, spending this amount of money on a common fish. We head into the mountains, and after some trainer battles, I encounter this dweebly little nerdy guy. I attack the guy and steal one of his rocks he had. No reason, I just wanted his rock. We reached Cerulean City by this point, and instead of taking on Misty, I decided it's probably for the best that we go up Nugget Bridge instead. I forgot that Ball Guy was waiting for me there, and unfortunately he beats me due to unfair RNG. A quick rematch later and we win. And I get to go up the bridge with a ton of trainers, good XP. Also, the last trainer is secretly a guy who tries to recruit for Team Rocket, but he always gives you a nugget before fighting him. Just purposely lose to him, and you can grind out nuggets for a good bit of money, but I never did that for this run. After beating Mr. Nugget, we continued down the path and met Bill. I must have been thinking about a different Pokemon generation, maybe it was Gen 2, because I was pretty sure Bill gives you an Eevee, but we do get a ticket for the SSN. We go down Route 6 and head into Vermilion City, where we find the voucher for the bike store. This is fantastic because it lets us grind out levels really quick, which we need to beat Misty. Down the road is the daycare. Next to the daycare is a long tunnel. With the bike in hand, we can use it to drop off Money Issue at the daycare, and then grind the steps in the tunnel until Money Issue is at a level she can evolve. We get back and have a laugh at this line, then grind one more level so that Money Issue evolves into Gyarados. Money Issue single-handedly wiped out the floor with Misty, though Freebie did help a bit. We went into the SSN, fought Ball Guy again, then massaged an old man so he could teach us how to cut people. Shrubs. I began to stumble through the darkness of the rock tunnel before realizing I forgot to challenge the gym back in Vermilion City. Meanwhile in Lavender Town, Ball Guy and I desecrate a holy place because, I don't know, I killed his Raki or something on the SSN? I couldn't care less. He ran away and I realized the mistake I made that I need the Sylph Scope. So after multiple trips, hazards, and Zubat attacks, so many bats, I go and face against Lieutenant Surge. I thought fighting him would be hard due to the slight advantage he had in the matchup, but I was kind of surprised how easy he was, even with my water types. I was just that over-leveled. Defeating Lieutenant Surge meant I can go into Celadon City, or maybe I could and I'm just stupid. Either way, this is where the game really opens up, and there's a major ton of Pokemon for us to pick up and create a full team with. The first thing I did was sneak into the back of a mansion and found that someone just casually left their Pokeball out. So, I gave it a little yoink and it had an Eevee inside. I might not be much better than Team Rocket in this case, but I'm aware, so I called it theft. With the blatant favor in mind. I get given a coin case from a gambler going straight after his crippling addiction caused him to lose all his money and his family left him. I mean, obviously he should have kept gambling. He was going to eventually win. Then I found out all the Pokemon being sold at the gambling house are basically stolen Pokemon from Team Rocket. Considering what happened with Eevee, I don't think this is really going to bother us much. We go to the game corner and begin our gambling frenzy for a full team of Pokemon that are probably deeply missing their original trainers. I'm not going to give them back. The game corner is a tough situation. All the walkthroughs I looked at online all have conflicting information. The information I'm about to provide might not be right either, but this is how I figured out the game corner. You can buy 500 coins outright from the person at the counter. This is already enough to buy us an Abra. I plan to trade this Pokemon for later. The next thing I do, like all great gamblers with a conscience and pride, is I scrounged on the floor for dropped coins and begged two other gamblers to give me extra coins. This gives me a few hundred extra coins and a black eye. But every time you come into the building, every machine has a different odd of winning. So to find a good machine, I recommend just launching about 4 slots and seeing how often you win in those 4 attempts. If it's bad, just go to the next one. Now, how I think this works is that your first 2 slots are entirely random when you push the button down. If they line up in a way that it can get you 3 in a row, that last slot is entirely skill-based, and the timing to get it aligned up is really hard. If you get 3 lucky 7s, treat the machine as dead and go to the next one and just repeat the process. It's not guaranteed to work, but I found that this is the most reliable. We managed to build up enough coins for 2 more Pokemon that I want. A Clefairy, which we named Traffic because it's being trafficked by Team Rocket, and the other a Dratini called Stolen Goods for the same reason. Traffic and Theft are both given a Moonstone and a Thunderstone immediately, because there isn't much of a reason not to. The stat improvements make them better, and the sooner I can get an electric type move, the better. I need to grind the new teammates up to the current area's level, but it's taking too long to do. I figured the daycare is probably the best option, but then, before I do anything, I race all the way back to Route 2 now that I have cut and reach a house who offers me a fun trade. This is where Trade the Abra comes into play, and I trade it for Mimi and the Mr. Mime. I cycle back to the daycare and grind my way through the levels, just riding up and down the tunnel for a good 20-ish minutes. With my newest Pokemon somewhat caught up, I challenge Celadon Gym. I try to beat Erica without using freebie too much, but eventually I cave in as the gym leader's Pokemon have pretty high levels for the rest of my team. But otherwise, easy victory. Head to Saffron City with the tea from the mansion so I can get in and realize I can't do anything about Team Rocket in the area yet, and the dojo is really tough. We barely win against the first 2 trainers in there. With the difficulty spike, I spent some time giving my team some TMs to give them more moves that fit their typing and make them more powerful. I only just remembered I forgot to attack Team Rocket in their secret base at the casino. We descended down to their lair, and I fought against Giovanni, who was surprisingly easy. We went to Lavender Town and tackled the towers now that we had the scope. We defeated the Ghost Marowak and the Team Rocket Grunts that had Mr. Fuji kidnapped, and as a reward, I got the Pokeflute. Using this, I could now defeat the Snorlax in Route 12 and make my way to Fuchsia City. To progress, we needed to head into the Safari Zone. Since the Safari's whole gimmick is about throwing balls at Pokemon, I decided it would just be funnier to throw rocks at them instead. Let's just add on some extra crimes of abuse to my resume. Why not? I'm horrible as it is. I found the secret shed, which got me the HM Surf. I gave the thief to the warden to gain the HM Strength. Both were needed for progression. This is why we came in here. I taught Traffic Strength and Money Issue Surf. This becomes Traffic's best move for some reason. I thought HM sucked in the early generations. I don't get this. We head back to Saffron City and take on the dojo. I take Hitmonlee as a trophy for my assault on the men, then begin another assault on Saffron Tower, defeating every Team Rocket Grunt in there. But for some reason I bumped into Ball Guy again. I don't know why he's here. I kicked his ass because, I don't know, he looked at me funny. Eventually I found Giovanni again, Defeated him again easily. I'm starting to notice the pattern here with this man. Now that it's open, we challenged the Saffron City Gym and defeated Sabrina without much pain. Following this high, we go to Fuchsia City and immediately challenge Koga, which went even better because Koga got clean sweeped by Mimian. There's nothing left to do in the main land, so the next thing to do was to head to Cinnabar Island. Using Money Issue, we fought against all the swimmers and reached the Seafoam Islands. I found out that we did have to go through the cavern system to progress. I didn't go much further than what was necessary because I didn't want to fight Articuno. It's not as if I can catch it anyway. We reach land on Cinnabar Island and meet with a scientist to bring Omanite to life. I decided to name it Defy God. It was a bit annoying, but the gym was closed, so I was forced to begin to search through the abandoned mansion for the key to it. Eventually we find it and cover the truth about Mewtwo, which is cool and all, but unless the Pokemon willingly joins my party, I don't care. With the key, I challenge Blaine and Money Issue solos the entire gym on her own. We get invited to join Bill to go to one island. I mistakenly thought it was required for progression and I agreed to join him. Yeah, I got stuck for a couple extra hours because of that, oops. Now back in Kanto, we flew over to Viridian City as there's no need to walk there. There's a museum in the back and I meet a scientist who instructs me to take an old amber from him to make a Pokemon. I think this might be corporate espionage. Very quickly we head back to Cinnabar Island to revive the fossil, creating an Aerodactyl, and I decided to name it I Am God. I put it in my PC and ignored it forever. That scientist will never see his risk pay off. We challenge Giovanni in his gym and like before, he's a cakewalk. So we just destroy the entirety of Team Rocket right then and there, and this allows me to take on the league. On the way there, we meet Ball Guy one last time before the finale. I have no clue how he beat the Elite Four after this, cause dude was weak. Inside we get given entry into Victory Road. The final stretch is in sight, but I got lost. We found the exit and it was time to take on the Elite Four. I'm not joking when I say this, but it went awful. No joke. I lost to the first Elite Four member. The issue is that Lapras just sweeps my entire team. Freebie survived, but at that point there was no survival against the other Pokemon in the team. My second attempt went the same way. Third attempt, I barely won it out, but thanks to Theft surviving, the next member is Bruno, and there's not much to say about him, other than his Machamp is pretty scary and it took out the majority of my team. Agatha was the least of my worries, as Mimian took out the enemy team. When it came to Lance, however, it was a complete no-go. Dragon Nerves were bad, but his Dragonite was the worst, and it just destroyed everyone. And I realized a horrible mistake. I never saved with any of these attempts. All of my items to revive between fights and heals, all of it. This is bad. I did a big training montage and got everyone to level 50 or almost level 50. We also take on some trainers that I missed for some extra money and use that money to fill out my bag as much with all the possible healing items for the final attempt. First, Lorelei. Is that her name? Is that her name, really? Her Lapras is a problem, but if I keep Theft in the battle, it should go down. The rest of the fight should be easy enough. Next to Bruno, I found Mimian was weirdly the best, as despite being a ground trainer, he uses a lot of fighting types. Mimian again is good against Agatha. Once Mimian got knocked out, Theft and Freebie can finish up the job. Lance is still a major struggle and it takes a full team effort, but we do barely win against him, with Theft being our last Pokemon in the field. As I healed up for our final battle, I noticed an issue. I had 5 knocked out Pokemon and only 5 revives, meaning I'm going into this final fight with no revives. Not only that, but once done with healing, there was only about 2 healing items left. So no revives, only 2 heals. This was going to be a tough fight, but I did do my homework for this one. I think we got it. Ball Guy always throws out Pidgeotto. So if I have Theft in my first slot, a single Thunder is all that's needed to take it out. When prompted to change against Rhydon, go with Money Issue. A single Surf can take it out. Alakazam is another problem Pokemon, but it's got a key weakness, that being its low defense stat. Bring in Traffic, who has the highest attack stat, and feed them an X attack. A single Double Edge takes it out, but it was a bit hairy with how much Ball Guy likes to use full restores. We need to be careful of that. Anytime his Pokemon reach red on their health bar, Ball Guy will immediately heal them. This is a war of attrition I can't win, so it's important that I don't leave them on red, as each Pokemon can heal twice like this. Freebie can take out Exeggutor pretty easy with its grass typing. Blastoise is Ball Guy's key Pokemon and sadly it's the strongest for a good reason. The biggest issue is Hydro Pump, and tragically, It's a one-hit kill for everyone. But I do have a plan against it. Hydro Pump only has 5 uses before it's up. So if I can make Blastoise waste it all, then no more one-hit kills, right? We start the fight with Freebie using Fly. Fly helps waste 2 uses of Hydro Pump before Freebie is taken out. I try the same with Traffic, but due to its low HP, Blastoise just decides to use Bite instead. Sold Goods is next and luckily takes the hit. That's free so far. Mimian comes in next, and it took a while for Blastoise to start firing Hydro Pump, so I used Magical Leaf with Mimian and got some good damage in before getting knocked out. That's 4 out of 5. In the stress of the moment though, I forgot to count properly and sent out my trump card against Blastoise, Theft. Theft luckily outsped the turtle and knocked it out with Thunder, preventing the last Hydro Pump. From there, all I needed was Money Issue to take out Arcanine, who had been a problem for everyone else. And I won. I knew it wouldn't be too hard to become the league champion with a full team, but it was sure as hell fun to see how fun this team became. There's nothing we can do now. There's a few extra Pokemon we could collect for free that we don't need to catch, that being Porygon and Cypher, but there's nothing more we can do. To unlock the other game islands, we need to have caught 50 Pokemon. Currently, I have 17 logged in. So it seems like this is as far as we can go, but what's really fun here is that there's still a ton of wiggle room for some different, really interesting teams with this challenge. Keep it in mind, there's a lot of Pokemon you can only choose one of, like Hitmonlee versus Hitmonchan. So I ask you, what Pokemon do you think was the best here? Was there a Pokemon I massively slept on? Is there an even more fun game to attempt this challenge on? Until then, don't catch any of them, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.